So, a week or so ago, I think, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that prisoners should have the right to vote, but EU member states can act with a certain amount of discretion. Let me read you a few paragraphs from an article called Human Rights Court Rules That Prisoners Should Be Allowed to Vote. To read the whole article and comment, if you like, visit the site www.thejournal.ie. Okay. Quote, the ruling in the case of Scopola versus the Italian government found that blanket ban on inmates voting, as is in place in the UK, is unlawful. The case was taken by an Italian inmate who argued that he has a right to partake in free elections according to the Human Convention on Human Rights. His government said that the prisoner, who is serving a 30-year sentence for murder, could not vote because his sentence was longer than 3 years. The court said that inmates with a good behavioural record who have already served 3 years may be entitled to vote. The ECHR said, though, that member states have the right to decide which prisoners can be enfranchised. The ruling has implications for the UK, which last year voted to defy an ECHR decision ordering the country to allow prisoners to vote. The Guardian reports that the UK has been given 6 months to comply with the decision, which came after a number of appeals and legal challenges. End quote. So, during Prime Minister's Question Time the other week, David Cameron said this: I've always believed that when you are sent to prison, you lose certain rights, and one of those rights is the right to vote. And crucially, I believe this should be a matter for Parliament to decide, not a foreign court. Parliament has made its decision and I completely agree with it. End quote. So, just to recap, the situation is we've been ordered by the European Court of Human Rights to rethink our absolute ban on prisoners voting. And our leader is essentially saying, up yours to Europe. This is a British matter and we won't be pushed around by foreigners. That's essentially what he's saying. Many European states, including Spain, Holland, and the Republic of Ireland, place no formal prohibition on prisoner voting. But we're not the only country which automatically bans prisoners from voting. There are no voting rights for the convicted in places like Bulgaria, Estonia, Romania, or Hungary. In 2001, the High Court in our country rejected a case by a man serving a life sentence for manslaughter, who argued that the prisoner voting ban was incompatible with the 1998 Human Rights Act. In 2004, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that our government was in breach of the European Convention on Human Rights, and the European Court's Grand Chamber rejected our government's appeal against this in October of 2005. So this stuff going on in the last week or so isn't the beginning of this issue between the British government and the ECHR. So, do you support the idea that those sent to prison for whatever offence should lose the right to vote, as our Prime Minister does? Or do you think that prisoners should have a voice in the democratic process? Should prisoners be encouraged to participate in the civic process as part of their rehabilitation, perhaps? Feel free, as always, to post comments below. Let me know what you think. Personally, I'm not convinced by the arguments that I've heard from those who favour the absolute ban. A lot of what people are saying on this matter is authoritarian rubbish, in my view. This issue should not be turned into a simple us versus Europe issue either. This is important. We need to sensibly discuss the pros and cons without being blinded by national loyalties or old rivalries, you know? Anyway, take care of yourselves, folks, and I will see you next time. Peace.